Welcome to the Over 40 Alpha Podcast with your host, Funk Roberts.
We are live, and welcome to the Over 40 Alpha Podcast. This is episode number 119, and I am your host, Funk Roberts. I'm a former professional athlete turned online fitness entrepreneur, world-renowned fitness expert, and known around the world as the guy who helps men over the age of 40, 50, 60, and beyond completely transform their bodies and lives. And today I'm really excited because today we are going to bounce back from divorce. You know, I've never been divorced before, so I don't know the feeling of going through that journey. I don't know the feeling of and the pain that I see a lot of my friends and other people around me go through when they're getting divorced, specifically for men. Now, I know what it feels like to have someone leave you as a man, and it sucks, it hurts, and that led me down a very dark path, but that's for another podcast episode. But today, we're going to talk about bouncing back from divorce. And I'm really excited because my friend Jeremy Murphy, he's a former Bellator fighter. He is the coach. He's a personal trainer as well, but his focus and goal is coaching men and helping men to turn their pain into purpose, showing them the FIGHT, F-I-G-H-T, which is an acronym that he's going to share with us on this episode. But that's what he had to do. He had to cultivate and create this FIGHT acronym to find his purpose and to bounce back from divorce. And, you know, with so many people getting divorced, specifically as we age in our 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, a lot of times divorce for older men is very difficult because after your wife leaves you or you get divorced from your wife and maybe the kids are gone, and now what's your purpose, right? Because before, perhaps your purpose was, you know, you felt like your purpose was, you know, I'm the man of the house. I can protect. I can provide. You know, I'm serving and ensuring that my wife is okay. You know, my kids are okay when they're around the house. And, you know, I put food on the table. I help to put food on the table. I keep a roof over our heads. That's kind of like the purpose that a lot of men, a lot of fathers, a lot of husbands do use. Like, that's their purpose. That's what they think their purpose is. But when your wife leaves you or you end up getting a divorce with your wife and now and the kids are gone from the house because now you're in your 40s or 50s or 60s or what have you, or maybe you didn't get custody of the kids and you only see them every 2 weeks or what have you, you start to lose purpose. Because if your purpose was to be the king of your kingdom and now your kingdom has dissolved, what's next? And really and truly, that generally leads down to a lot of pain, a lot of anguish, a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, a lot of sadness, a lot of depression, and can honestly lead to suicide if not dealt with in the right way. Not to mention what a lot of men have to go through in the court system, which only adds to this stress. That only adds to, dare I say, the demise of a lot of guys who don't have a support group, a support system, or a way to fight back. And when I say fight back, I'm not talking about fighting back against your wife or against somebody else. It's fighting back to find your purpose and using that pain to create your purpose, to give you the purpose. So today I'm really excited. Jeremy's a friend of mine. I've actually seen him go through this process. I didn't watch the whole thing happen, but we spoke when he was going through this. You know, I've helped him out in the past in, you know, with just guiding with some business stuff, but I know a bit of the story, but I don't know all the story. So we're going to listen, and I'm hoping that today when you listen to this, if you're a man who is in the middle of a divorce, if you're a man who has just got divorced, if you're a man who have been divorced but still have not been able to bounce back, or if you're a man in a relationship where things aren't going the way you want them to, this is for you. Listen up. And for all other guys out there who have friends, who have family members, who know people who may be in the same boat, this is going to be an amazing episode, because we got to start talking and be more vulnerable when things are going on in our lives. We have to band together and become a community of men who are helping each other be the best we can be. Jeremy's an amazing man, and he's doing some great things as a fighter, as a teacher, and as a coach. And today we're going to learn about his story and how to use the FIGHT acronym to bounce back from divorce. I hope you enjoy this episode.
Listen up, my brother. If you're over the age of 40, 50, 60, or beyond, and your six-pack is actually looking like a party-sized keg, then I've got a solution for you. You see, my Over 40 Alpha Workout, Nutrition, and Brotherhood program is the only program on the planet where the word dad bod is like a 4-letter word. See, we're not just a program. We're a worldwide movement of over 16,000 men just like you. And when I say just like you, I mean guys who still feel like they're 25 in their heads, but their bodies keep asking, are you sure about that? See, I created this program specifically for men in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond to help burn belly fat, to help build muscle, to help improve strength, to help boost energy, to help boost that libido, and also naturally increase your testosterone levels. But aside from that, this program is also helping you regain your manhood, improve your fitness, and get you into the best health you've ever been. And with a Trustpilot score of 4.9, we're obviously doing something right. This program's got over 36 phases. That's 3 years of progressive programming. Imagine that. You have a university-like program specifically designed for men in their 40s, 50s, 60s, just like you, that's going to help you get those results. No more wrestling with the pickle jar. No more trying to figure out what workouts to do and what program to use and stopping and starting. No more second guessing. Because not only am I going to give you follow-along workouts where you're going to train right beside me. Listen, we're going to sweat together. I'm going to motivate you. I'm going to guide you. And together we're going to get you in the best shape of your life. But I'm also going to hook you up with a nutrition plan specifically designed for men to help you increase your testosterone, fuel your body with the foods that will help you get in the best shape and health of your life. But also, I'll tell you when to eat, I'll tell you what to eat, and I'll tell you how much to eat, and I'll tell you the foods to stay away from. I know it sounds a little bit overwhelming, but just think about this. You're not going to have any more second guessing whether a whole pizza actually counts as one serving. Am I going to tell you a spoiler alert? It doesn't. Anyways, I'm also going to throw recovery routines like yoga and mobility because, let's face it, as we get older, as we age, getting out of bed unassisted counts as a win. Plus, I'm going to share sleep tips just to help you master the art of not snoring like a freight train and getting those 7 to 9 hours you need on a daily basis. Now, here's the cherry on top of this program. The powerful thing of this program, the Alpha Brotherhood. There's no politics, there's no religion, there's no pop culture, there's no judgment, just thousands of guys in our private Facebook group from all over the world cheering you on, helping you, guiding you, and motivating you, even while you do your birthday burpees in your living room. That's right. We actually have birthday burpees that people do on their birthday. But seriously though, listen, brother, you've been put on this earth to provide, to protect, and to procreate. And you can't do it if you're not in the best health of your life. You can't do it if your biggest exercise is lifting the remote. You have to focus on your health and your fitness for yourself, for your families, and for the people around you. So if you're ready to finally get in shape, then head over to over40alpha.com and your journey is going to start for just $1 for the first 30 days. Yes, you heard that right. All you have to pay is $1 and you will have access to the entire program for just 30 days. You'll get that fat loss shred phase where you'll get follow along workouts. You'll also get live coaching 2 times a month with the Funkster and all the other brothers. You'll get access to the private Facebook group, and you'll get everything you need to get in the best shape of your life. And listen, after 30 days, if you don't like this program, you didn't get in the best shape, you can ask for a refund and we're clear. But I guarantee you, you are going to love this program. Go to over40alpha.com. Start today for just $1 for 30 days. There's no hidden fees, just $1. Give me that $1, give me 30 days, and I'm going to get you on your way to being in the best shape of your life. Go to over40alpha.com, over40alpha.com, sign up for $1, and I'll see you on the other side. Enjoy the podcast.
Welcome, everyone. I'm really excited about this podcast episode because we're going to dive into something that, it happens a lot, specifically as we get older. Men, as we get older, are faced with some of these issues that we're going to talk about, divorce, breakup. And when it comes, there's a few ways this happens, right? Like, when we're not expecting it, as we get older, we're not expecting it, all of a sudden, boom, your wife or your girlfriend or your partner ends up leaving you. And you don't know why. You don't know what the problem is. You didn't see it coming. Or maybe there has been some issues in the marriage over the years. The kids are out of the house. Now it's you and your wife. And now you're trying to reconnect with each other. But maybe that connection's not what you thought it would be. And all of a sudden now we're going through that divorce. Now, I've never been divorced, so I don't know the process, but I know the pain because I see it in many, many guys. I see it in many of my friends in the past. And now, it's a painful process. I actually noticed it in the process of our guest today, who I'm really, really excited to have as a longtime friend. We've known each other for years, and you have gone through divorce, but you've also bounced back from divorce, and now you're helping other men to bounce back with tools and resources. So please, everyone, welcome Jeremy D. Murphy in the house. What up, Jeremy? How are you doing?
What's up, man? I was so excited to be able to share this information. I really feel like what I've been through, what I've processed, and the information I'm going to share is going to help a lot of men really bounce back. And as you know, the goal is not only to bounce back and be good, but the goal is to actually use this experience to be better than you were before. So I'm 100% sure. Yeah.
Amazing. So let's start back. Like, let's start with your journey because, man, you were a fighter. Take us through your origin story before that you went through the breakup. Take us through that origin.
Yeah. So the origin story. Let's start. Let's start about maybe. I'm gonna take it back, not too far, but I'm gonna take it back to college because I think that'll help make sense. By the time I was in college, I was already dating the woman that I decided to marry and then divorce, right? So we were already together in college, but my martial arts journey started there. It started with Shotokan Karate, right? And from basic, Okinawan Shotokan Karate, I started competing in tournaments, doing well. And because I was doing so well in tournaments, around that time, this is like 2007-ish, MMA kind of started popping up mainstream. And I thought, it'd be great to get into MMA. So I was down south for college. I came up here and just kind of in one swift move, had our first kid, got married. And when I was up here, I decided that I want to start training MMA. So I started actually training under Kung Lee's gym in San Jose at that time. So I went from a karateka, essentially practitioner, to amateur kickboxer, amateur MMA fighter, to a pro MMA fighter within a handful of years. And I say all that because as I get more into the philosophy that I'm going to share, as it turns out, fighting and martial arts very much influences how I see life, including the information that I'm going to share with you today. But in terms of that origin story, as I was competing in mixed martial arts, we had our first kid 2005. Our second one came 2010. And looking back, I realized now that I spent a lot of time training. And part of it was because I was in a place where I wasn't happy in the relationship. And we weren't on the same page in a variety of ways. So that was my way of getting out a lot of the kind of access energy that I had that I wasn't able, or I didn't have the opportunity, and the way I felt to commit to the relationship, I committed it to fighting. So if I wasn't fighting, if I was training, I was training people. So I started my personal training business in 2011. So if I wasn't competing or training, I was training people. And then the other thing that I did is I spent a lot of time with my boys, but I didn't spend a lot of time with my then wife, right? My situation was, I was in a situation, and there's a lot of men go through this as well, unfortunately. There's a lack of intimacy there for me, right? So as I was to express this, my experience was, at first I was like, okay, well, let's see what we can do. But then it was more like, okay, well, you're not doing this, that's why you're not getting this. But then at some point it became, you only deserve this, right? That was my experience, right? So I remember very distinctly having some real conversations with this person. And this is not to throw this person under the bus, because when I look back, there are other things that she needed that I wasn't either aware or able to provide as well, right? But my experience at that time was simply, hey, I'm a hardworking guy. I do the right thing. I'm doing as best as I can. Why can't I have more time with you? And so of this long list of things that she had, because she was doing very well in the corporate world, and she's doing even better now. Her parents lived with us. We had 2 kids. From my perspective, not only was I at the bottom of the list, I started to feel like I wasn't on her list at all, which was really, for me, very hurtful. And at some point, I realized that I had 3 choices. I could either continue to live this way and tells it out. I could kind of pretend like I was being part of the family, but actually try to, get my needs met on the side, right? So I'm sure you know what I mean. Yep. Or I could just do what I thought was the right thing and tell her that I was ready to part ways. And as I was trying to figure this out, not having the quality time that I wanted. Yeah. So, it's one of those situations where people had been, there have been people that expressed interest before, and I always shut it down for obvious reasons, right? I'm married, right? But I keep getting this notification that you can't hear me, Funk. When you say you can.
I can hear you perfectly. Yeah. I'll let you know.
Oh, okay. Perfect. So, but I always shut it down for obvious reasons. But then I thought, like, if you and I aren't, if we're not jiving, I can't do it like this. I can't do marriage this way. So anyway, at some point, I'm just being very transparent. She became aware that, I was thinking about other people. Other people are thinking about me. I didn't do anything. That doesn't make it right. But that was just the situation. So, these kinds of things, it's never pretty. Matter of fact, even though my situation was tough, it's probably overall a lot better than what a lot of other men are going through. But in any case, we went to counseling. And my original thought was, I'm kind of already know what I want to do, right? But we went to counseling anyway. And we did, what was it? Like a year and 3 months, like 18 months of counseling, right? And my original plan was to do like maybe 3 months, but we did like 18. And I'm like, hey, so we got it. And at the end of it, I was like, all right, well, I learned a lot, but I still feel the same. So I asked her for a divorce. Yeah.
Well, you asked for the divorce.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So let's back up for a second, because there's a lot to unpack here, and I think it's important for people to learn about what's happening throughout this relationship. So how old are you right now?
45.
Okay, you're 45. Gee, you look good, brother, man. You look good. Keeping it real, baby. Keeping it good.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So how old were you when you had your first child?
I had Jeremiah at 27.
Okay, and then the second one came 5 years later, so you were 32. Yeah, and at that point, and so when you were in high school, I'm going to go back to high school. Like, where did you grow up? Where were you born? Where did you grow up? What part of the country were you born in?
I was born in Colorado Springs, but I grew up for high school in Dublin, California.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you go to school, and did you meet your ex-wife in high school, or did you meet her in college? Okay,
Yeah,
so this is a high school sweetheart, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
So you meet her in college, in high school, and then you go to college. Did you both go to the same college?
Well, no. So I went to college and she worked.
Okay.
After she decided to move out to Long Beach with me, I went to college in California, but she decided to move out there with me. She worked and she went to school part time, and then I went to school full time.
So you're both in school, Cal State, Long Beach.
Yeah.
Wait, were you in university when you had the first kid?
No, we were.
Okay, so then you start fighting. You move up north to the San Jose area, and you're training with Kung Lee, who's a UFC fighter. But you're like, you just flossed over this, but you were a professional fighter. You fought in Bellator.
Professional fighter, yeah, fun.
Yes, okay, because you didn't even mention that, so I thought that people to know, because like this guy's a professional MMA fighter, not just like training like the highest level. So you know the train. So when you're talking about like you were training either for fights or obviously when you're in training MMA, you got to train so many different things, so many different physical attributes. So or you're training people because at that time your relationship, or maybe you just were you aware that you weren't putting time into the relationship? Were you aware, or were you just too focused on your fighting career?
At first, I was not aware. At first, I thought I was just doing, because to fight to compete in MMA successfully takes a lot of work. Even if you're come in and you're talented in one area, it still takes a lot of work. Guys now, it's better because typically guys now coming up, they have various disciplines that they're good at because they grew up watching MMA. But back then, you're a kickboxer trying to come into MMA. You're a wrestler, you're trying to come. So you might do one thing well, but you have to do unless you're like just have ridiculous knockout power.
Right.
The only exception. Otherwise, you have to work really hard to be competitive. So at first I thought, to answer your question, oh, you have to work really hard to be competitive. But then at some point I realized, oh, I'm not happy in my relationship. So I'm spending as much time as I possibly can, basically away from the family, but specifically, and again, this is not to be mean, but this is what my mentality was at that time, specifically away from her. So I made sure to train her, my boys. I had opportunities to train my boy in martial arts and karate and stuff like that over the years. So I spent a lot of time with my boys, but I was specifically I wasn't happy. And so I just felt like, let me just not be in that space.
Yeah. Totally. And I think that's really what happens with us guys. We if we're not happy with our relationship, the obviously a lot of times we're not going to want to break up, because that's also fearful. Like, oh, did I actually go through and fucking break up? Like, oh my God, I want to go through that. Oh, right. But so what do? Well, we start hanging out with our buddies more. We start working longer hours. We start, focusing on other things. And maybe some of the times it's not like consciously we're doing it. It's just we're trying to stay out of a stress, like, and it doesn't even have to be like high stress, but just being in the same place as someone who you're just not vibing with. There's no connection. The love may have dissipated a bit. Maybe it's a little bit, I don't know what's going on, what's happening. It's very uncomfortable. It's stressful. It's hurt. Cortisol levels are high. And then maybe you just spend time everywhere else, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. 1,000%. 1,000%.
And so then, but the thing about you that's different is like, okay, so now you have, how old were you when you realized, okay, I got to do something. I got the three choices. When did those three choices, how old were your kids, if you remember? And
it really hit me in like 2017. And everything kind of hit me. I remember specifically because I had a Bellator fight, but that wasn't, so unfortunately, on my content, I talk about this a lot. I had a coach, his name was Pops. Pops is a father figure to me. Pops is the guy that took me from, even though I was training a lot, I still wasn't very effective in martial arts. In MMA, I wasn't very effective. I was still having a hard time winning any single fight until I met Pops. Pops gave me kind of training methodology, which is essentially knockout power. And then I became dangerous. So I've been training with Pops for about 2.5 to 3 years leading up to the Bellator fight, which we won, by the way. So you're like,
Yes, we do want to know. Yes.
No, we knocked out this kid in the third round.
I remember that actually.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, yeah, were you there?
I remember. I was. What?
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, awesome.
Yeah, we knew each other. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, we knew each other, but I don't know if we were there because I know you go to fights a lot.
Yeah, no, I wasn't there, but I remember it was an undercard fight, I think it was, right?
Yeah.
And the undercard. Yeah.
That's right. So leading up to that, I trained with Pops, and Pops is like a father figure. And so I learned a lot about how to be a man from Pops. But unfortunately, also leading up to that fight, Pops was hospitalized. I still can't tell you exactly what it is that he passed a few months later. So we were getting ready for the fight in like January. Go to the hospital January. I fight, I think March, April. And by, I want to say May or June, he stopped. Wow. And so that put me in a place where I was like, there's a lot that happened. There's a lot of apostasy. I had lost some family members, but I never lost someone else that close to me before. And so it made me rethink everything. You know, one of the things that I believe is actually, I believe that there's actually a correlation between death of a loved one, deep depression, and divorce. And I believe these kinds of things, some people might call it midlife crisis, is like an umbrella term. I don't really like that term, but people know it. But anyway, these type of situations bring you to a place where you can be like, where you start to think about your life very seriously, not only in terms of your mortality, but you start to think about, am I really living the life that I want, or am I just kind of going through the motions? And that's what happened there. So I lost Pops, and then I started thinking, man, I'm really just going through the motions. So as I was having these feelings, and these feelings I had been having in my marriage were before Pop, right? I had been having these feelings for probably around the birth of our second, because it just seemed to get, you know, the distance seemed to get further and further between me and my ex-wife. So, but when Pops passed, then there was like, man, I lost somebody that I really care about, and all I want to do is spend time with people that I really care about in every aspect of my life. And if I can't give this person what they need, and they can't give me what I need, then this can't happen anymore. Like, this can't be anymore. So to answer your question, that was one of those moments where I just, it put me, but it wasn't, again, this is me talking about it from back then. Like, in the moment, it was just felt like depression, hurt, anger, stress. It felt like I wanted to crawl out of my own skin, because there's nothing about my life that I was super excited about when that happened, right? I was just like, everything has to change. And I just kind of got this like feeling like, I don't know what to do, you know, anymore. I don't know what to do. Because fighting was such a big part of my life. When Pops passed, it was just fun anymore.
Right. Yeah. It's like the Rocky story, man. It's like the Tyson story. You know, Rocky 3 when when his manager died before that one fight, and he took a beating from you didn't take a beating, but he took a beating. Yeah, from Clubber Lang. I think Clubber Lang taught him. It was
friend. Yeah, Clubber. Exactly.
Yeah, and then Mike Tyson had that happen to him. You know, when Gus passed away, it was like, you know, again, my condolences to you, because, you know, losing someone that was a father figure, you know, is devastating. So yeah, all of those feelings you said, like anger and resentment and pain and shame and abandonment and all of these things that. And then also the fact that you realize that, you know, what am I doing? It's purpose, right? What's my purpose? I think is what kind of what you're thinking about right at that time. It's like, what is my purpose? Because yeah, I know exactly how you felt there, because when you're just going through the motions, right? Like, you just literally, like, you wake up every day and it's like, gotta take the kids here, you gotta do this here, you gotta go to work, you gotta come back, you gotta do this, and it's just, and then 1 year goes, then 2 year goes, and then 5 years go, and then 10 years go, and now you're 40 years old, and you're like,
right,
what the, and or 50, or something happens when you're like 55, 60, you're like,
right,
where did the last 20 years go? Yes, I have kids, and they're gone. yes, I had this marriage, but it was just, we were more friends than anything because there was no intimacy, right?
Right.
And then it's like, where did the last 20 years go?
Right.
Right? Like,
That.
and then it just, and that sometimes can happen after like you said, after a death or something tragic or whatever. All of a sudden now you're feeling it all comes down because you're probably holding that in and not holding it in. You're not holding it in like on purpose. You're just like, all of these feelings are there. They're stirring up. Sometimes it takes something tragic to unleash it. And then, guys, who are we going to talk to? We're not going to talk to anybody, right? Did you talk to somebody? Like, who did you confide in during this time?
You're asking all the right questions. Nobody.
Right.
Nobody. And the worst part was, so for me, my experience was, so again, this is kind of the concepts I coach around, because to your point, exactly what you said, all of it comes down to a lack of purpose, like realizing that you're not living an intentional life. But my process was death of a loved one, pops, divorce, depression. It was actually more like death of pops, depression, divorce, worse depression. That was my process.
Okay.
And so I didn't have anyone to talk to, and I spoke with my dad about some of these things, and my biological father's in my life. We have a good relationship now, much better now, and we've had a little bit of it off and on, but he wasn't able to be there in such a way where I felt like I can really carry this, like I can really carry this, or like he can help me carry this at first. He did step up into that role later on. But in the beginning, I didn't feel like he was in a place to help me carry this. So I shared some, but then I didn't share some. I remember telling friends about some of how I was feeling. I actually lost a lot of friends. I had people turn on me. I had people like betray me, like, Jeremy's not a good guy anymore. Yeah. Never asking my side of the story. Never asking how I felt. I've had people that I'd known fought literally, and I'm sure you got people that are going through this. This blows my mind. I have people that I've known since I was in the 7th grade, since high school, that I call family, that have to this day, knowing everything that I've gone through, probably texted me 4 times, maybe. Some of them once. Like, I heard you going through, that's it.
Yeah.
Happy birthday. Like people that I call like, you're my brother. I don't talk to them anymore. I don't speak to them anymore. I don't hang out. I don't talk about them anymore. Unless I'm, doing stuff like this, just to let people know the amount of the depths of the loneliness that you'll go through. And that's, I like to think of myself as a good guy. I didn't sleep around on her. I didn't gamble money. I didn't do any kind of, I just realized that I didn't want to be there anymore. I wanted to be out. I had people that I thought might be better, people for me. But I thought, well, that may or may not be, but let me handle this first, and maybe we can see about that. But that was the extent of it. But I still have people just like, I'm like, what? But I know people that did some really shady stuff. I know people that did some really. I'm like, I didn't tell anybody about. I didn't teach you like this when you did, but this it's crazy. But on the other hand, though, I do have to say I've had people that I've hardened him for 5 years, 10 years, 7 years, peers, some clients that did call me, that did say, hey, if you need a place to stay, I got you. Hey, I heard you're going through something. Do you need to talk? And that juxtaposition, that grace, gave me the edge I needed that day to go to the next. Yeah, or if you could think that.
That's huge. That is, you've said a lot of shit there, man. That's so powerful. Like, I was on a mental health panel this weekend. I talked on a panel for men and masculinity. And one of the things we talked about, one of the portions of it was friendship. Like, men don't have friends. Like one in 5 men have, one in 5 men have one best friend or one friend.
Right.
Because as we get older, people move away, people have families, people, you know what I mean? And that connection between old friends. And then, of course, because we're men, we're just, like, it's hard for us to make friends because we don't know if we can trust this person, and I gotta have an ego, and I'm lucky. I'm different. I'm the opposite of that. I say hi to everybody. I don't have an ego. I don't care. I'm pretty transparent. But I know that it is very difficult because even when I'm speaking to other guys, they're just like, you can tell their wall is up. What is black guy, big black guy speak? Like, is he real or is he just
Right.
And once you kind of open up a little bit, they realize, oh, he's actually a really good person. But the fact that you said that people didn't reach out, and I do also think that sometimes people just don't know what to say. You know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? Like people, and maybe sometimes people aren't in the right place themselves, and they're like, shit. I mean, let me go through this, but good luck, buddy. I mean, I don't know. I'm going through something, or I don't even know what to say to you, so I don't say anything, which is another fault of men. Like, guys, we gotta step up. We see our brothers in that we've known who are hurting, or who that there's something going on. You have to take the judgment portion out. I think the first thing you say is, hey, man, I'm not going to judge you whatsoever, but I know there's something going on. You can talk to me. And I do remember we talked about, you know what? I remember this distinctly.
Yeah.
You told me about you're like, Funk, you won't believe this. There's guys that I've known for a thing, and they've turned on me. They're taking her side or something.
Right.
Something going on.
That's correct. Right?
So let's go to the divorce now. So now you made the decision.
Right.
Take us through that whole process, the divorce process.
Oh man, so there's a few things there, but the thing number one is the only family that I have here is my boys. The only blood family that I have here is my boys.
Yeah. Like your friends.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Just like blood family. The only blood family. My mom's not here. My dad's not here. I don't have uncles or cousins.
Oh, true.
Or any of that here in this state. Not anybody that I'm close to. Anyway.
Right.
So when I made the decision to leave, I was trying to again, because I had this kind of frantic feeling. So I planned it out, but it was like it was not like a very good plan. It was very well thought out. But I had a couple buddies that one was another coach of mine. It was Pops' son actually, and one was a fellow fighter. And I was, and so I talked to them a little bit, and I was like, this won't do well. I gotta get a divorce. But I'm gonna need a place to stay. So when I asked one of my guys, he was like, "Oh yeah, I got you. This is gonna work." But then I asked him earlier. But then I went to the counseling. So that 18 months later or so, I circled back and was like, "Oh, I got somebody that's using that spot now." So I left the house, and I eventually was homeless for about something like maybe 8 months. So most of the time I was in and out of Motel 6s, right? Which is expensive. But there was a time where I had a room and I set up in a Motel 6 like it was my apartment. I had my thing, my drawer, my clothes, I had the whole thing. But when the money got tight or got short, then I'd have to figure something else out. So sometimes I would get a chance to, like, for example, my ex, she was trying to be okay with it at first. So there's a downstairs room, and I crashed down there, maybe 3 times. There's a downstairs kind of like, not a basement, but like a grandma unit.
Right.
So I crashed there a couple times, right? Like 2 or 3 nights. And this is over the course of this 8 months or so, right?
Sure.
Mostly in Motel 6s. I had another friend that let me stay with her for about 2.5 months, right? Just straight platonic friends. She was trying to help me out. I actually spoke with her a lot. She's very helpful to me. So I was just kind of bouncing around trying to figure it out. And but it was and most of my stuff was in my car, right? So all I had was my car that was a Prius 2012 car, books, and clothes. That's all I had. And I remember one time I got I was just low. Didn't have a whole lot of money, didn't have a whole lot of places to stay, not a whole lot of resources. So one time, the people that at the gym may not know this, but I stayed at the gym that I trained at. I actually slept upstairs in the massage room. I didn't have anywhere else to go.
Wow. And so that was during this was that during the 18 months of going to counseling, or is this after, or is this?
That is after that.
Okay. So during the divorce, how did that whole process work out? Like, do you have the kids? Can you see the kids? Was it like, what was it? A stressful divorce? Were you guys
So at first it was very amicable.
amicable? That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah. At first, it was very amicable. So the agreement was, I get to see I see the kids Tuesday, Thursdays, and every other weekend, and that's actually still the agreement.
Okay.
But because I didn't have a place to stay, I'd actually come to the house and hang out with the boys at the house, which is kind of weird, right? Because we're not together anymore.
Totally.
But I didn't have there was no other option, and she was cool about that. So that's props to her, because what she would do is she would kind of like go in a whole nother room while I was there with the boys, just so that she didn't have to just so didn't have any like emotion there, you know.
Right.
So we did that, and then when I did have a hotel to stay in, I wouldn't take the boys to the hotel. I would just take them out somewhere, to the arcade or to the park, or to go. I don't know. Usually, most of the time, it was actually to the park. I would try to take them out somewhere for the time that I had it. And but if it was a weekend, they would stay with me, maybe at the hotel, but I try to get like a nicer hotel, so it doesn't. So not a Motel 6, something a little bit nicer. But if I had the means, if I had the money, right? And I was just doing all this like ball juggling just to try to. And this entire time, I talked to my father about it a little bit. I remember it was a few months that we had already separated, and it took me a few months to actually talk to my mom about it, because I knew my mom was still away, and it created a situation where I couldn't talk to my mom for a little while because she was so emotional about it. And that's even still to this day a bit of a challenge, because my mom and my ex, I wouldn't even consider. I guess they were close. I never thought they were close, but I guess they were close. But they're more from my perspective, like, I don't know if any of they say it. Like, I love my mom, but she kind of took her side. She took my ex's side as well. So, there's a lot of there's a lot of trying to figure this out on my own that I had to do that I didn't quite anticipate. I knew I didn't have a ton of support, but I thought I'd have a little more, and I had almost none, and I wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, how can you be? There's no, unfortunately. Well, hopefully, you're now going to be taking these guys through a way to get through these things, but there has not been, and still probably to this day, like a plan. Because the reason why I think that it's very difficult you can have a plan, but I mean, it's not like, okay, here's the blueprint, because we're dealing with human beings, right? And human beings, their emotions can change in a drop of a dime. They can change because someone, like their lawyer, maybe you start the divorce like, hey, you know what? We're going to do this amicably. We're going to just make sure that the kids have the father, and I really want the kids to have the father in life. And, we don't have a lot, so we can just separate and divorce and make it clean. But then you get the lawyer in here. The lawyer's like, what are you talking about? We can get this, we can get this. He's got to pay this. He's got to pay this. And now the thought from whomever you're divorcing starts to change, because they're only hearing it from this side, from their friends. Girlfriends are going to be, and from, the lawyer, and from other people, other things they start watching. Now social media is there, so it's very easy to go down a rabbit hole. You say one thing about women getting divorced, and everything you see is the same thing. So now that bubble can be like completely different. You walk in one day, sit down, you're like, okay, let's go. Let's just hold on a minute. That's not how this is going to work right now.
I went through that too.
Okay.
I went through that too. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I went through that too. I went through, and again, I know that there's people that have it worse, but I went through virtually, as far as I can tell, every facet of how this could go bad. I went through some degree of every facet of how this could go bad. I think that's the best way to put it. So I went through that too. So again, I mentioned that first it was amicable, but then it was like, okay, well, I need you to pay for this. I need you to pay for this. And I was like, okay, I guess I have to. And this is why I don't have very much of anything. I'm just barely getting by, right? And they're like, okay, I have to. And I would talk to my dad. He's like, yeah, you should do. But then I did another thing that I recommend men not do. So during the process, I actually got to, during the process of the divorce, there's a point where I could have, again, I'm not trying to throw her under a bus. To the point where she told me, from my recollection, that the divorce is done, right? So I'm like, great, the divorce is done. Now I'm dating, you're dating. Cool, right? So I started dating, going out, boom, boom, talking to young ladies. I ended up in this relationship with this young lady. And that relationship, in and of itself, were not the best. That was not the best in and of itself. For a variety of reasons that have nothing to do with my marriage, but some of them did. One of the things that happened is she actually, this is like a year and a half in. One of the things that she says to me, she's very inquisitive, a detective, and she says, wait, are you really divorced? And I'm like, yeah, of course I'm divorced. 5 minutes, she goes online. You're not divorced. Here's the thing. She finds the thing. She finds the court judgment, the process of it all. So she finds it. This is the girl I'm dating. And I'm like, I could have swore that my ex said that she took, because I asked her to take care of it. It's another mistake I know, by the way.
Yes.
I asked her to take care of it because I was just trying to survive, right? But I asked for the divorce, right? So it's not the most brilliant thing, okay? Yeah. We're being on it, right?
Yeah, this is huge.
Yeah, all right? So I find out it's not done. So now I'm having a conversation with at that time girlfriend. We're not together anymore. She's like, she thinks I've just been lying to her. But I'm like, no, I've been lied to. So in this conversation, her and I call what I thought was my ex-wife to get her on the phone on speaker with this huge argument. Yeah. And then she was like, yeah, I was going through it, but then I didn't because you were supposed to do something. I was like, you never told me I was supposed to do anything. It was this whole thing. It was, anyway. So long story short, to your point, my girlfriend, once we kind of figured things out, she's like, okay, well, I believe you that you care about me. I believe you that you want to be divorced from this person. But look, like, you're being taken advantage of, what she said, right? And so even though my ex-girlfriend at the time, we had our own thing, this was one of those things where she really stepped up for me. I have to say, she really stepped up for me. She's like, look, I know you're good with your dad. Your dad's not, he doesn't really understand what's going on. Your mom's not on your side. Your friends have abandoned you. Like, nobody's on your side. This is what you have to do. You have to go back because you guys have had a life together, a house together. I recognize that she's been the breadwinner. I recognize she's been doing the main things, but you're not like this guy that deserves nothing. You need to go back and you guys need to figure this out legally, and you deserve something. So and look, this is one of those things, fuck. It's crazy. She had to like push, and I'm glad she did. Because once that happened, it changed everything, right? I'm glad she did. But she pushed, like, we were fighting. Like, she was fighting for me to go fight for myself.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like, she was fighting with me to give me the courage to fight for myself.
That's insane. Thinking that, yeah, specifically because you're the one that asked for the divorce. So it'd be like, but you're the one that asked for the divorce. But thinking beforehand that, like, well, I got this plan and, this is why, because I'm going to have some support and we'll get through this. And my wife is actually kind of good. It's just, I'm the one that's kind of breaking. It's not like she breaking it up. So, but then I can see all the holes, right? Like, you let her try to finish it up. So, which should have been something you would have done, right? So like, listen, I'm saying this because probably a lot of men would have probably done the same thing because men, when it comes to divorce and the stats that show, most men don't, they don't come out on top. And so there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of stress and there's a lot of pain. And it's just like, and if you're going down this whole road, it's like, I just want this to go away, man. Like, let's get this done. And and you were trying to focus on your situation. And listen, man, I think a lot of guys would be going through the exact same thing. I don't treat divorce as like that guy's divorce is worse than this person's divorce is worse than this one. I think it's all bad. Like the process is all bad. So it's like, I think everyone can take from, like you said, you went through every facet of like what could happen during a divorce. The only thing you didn't go through is the battle of, what's it called? The War of the Roses. Have you seen the movie War of the Roses?
It sounds familiar, but
it's an old school movie. Watch it. It's insane. They lived in the same house. They tried to kill each other. It's unreal. But it's one of those things where it's like, oh God, okay, like thank goodness, But okay, so now you're going through all of this stuff, man, and I'm just like props to you, props to that girl, because yeah, like thinking back, well, now that obviously you're not hoping to get divorced again, but like I think a learning point there for all guys is like you have to take care of that divorce like 100%. You can't take word for it, man. Like even if she divorced you, you gotta take care of it. You can't let it sit and let it linger, because a lot of men would do that specifically because they're the ones that are getting, like, the wife is divorcing them or separating from them, and they're just trying to process all this because it comes out of the blue, and they don't want to handle all that because it is stressful, I'm sure. But the fact that you needed her to push you, and then you went ahead and figured this out, I'm sure.
Right.
Is all right?
Yeah, so we went through the court system, and that's where it got a little bit ugly. And who owns what, who is responsible for what, all right, you owe this, you owe that, all this stuff. At the end of the day, I think it all shook out very fair. There was a house that we had, it had been leveraged a few times, by her for things, and there were some bad moves I made there. There's some things where she's like, yeah, I want to put before the divorce was completed, I want to put something on the house to do this. I would sign off on it, right? My name's still on it, thinking I was helping it. But then when I circle back and I'm like, look, we both own the house. I just asked for pennies, like, and we're talking California. We're talking like, the house at this time is worth at least $1 million. Right? It's probably right now on this day, it's probably was 1.3, 1.5.
Right.
But a couple of years back, the 2 or 3 years back, it's like $1 million, maybe $9. Like, look, I just need, like, this is harder than I thought it would be. So I came to her on two specific occasions. On one occasion, we got on the phone for an hour, me and my ex-wife. And again, I'm not trying to throw under the bus. I'm just trying to explain how
I know.
Right? Yeah. And I'm thinking, like, look, this is like, can we agree on, I don't know, like, can we agree on 50? Right? We on the phone for an hour, and at the end of the hour, her response was basically, I might give you 10 grand. Okay. I might give him 10 grand.
Wow.
And I'm like, and she was like, oh, by the way, you signed such and such. You don't deserve that because you signed such and such. Oh, yeah. And I wouldn't, like, she would ask me to sign stuff. I wasn't even paying attention. What? I don't care. I don't.
Because you wanted to have it done.
I'm just trying to.
And you're trying to be, you're also trying to be the good guy too.
Yeah, I got to be the good guy. Exactly. So by the time this all comes to the girl that was dating, the girlfriend, she's like, you shouldn't have signed that. You shouldn't have signed that. You shouldn't have signed that. But even though you did, all that it's not true. Like you reserve more. The time you put into her family. Like I spent time with her entire family before we were married. I spent time with her father, which is passing away. He had Alzheimer's. Yeah. So aside from working and making the money that I made, when I started personal training, a lot of the money I made, I reinvested into the business. I probably should have committed more to the household. Right, that was my bad. Right, but I never did anything wrong. Never did anything sneaky or underhanded. I was always with the family, with the kids, other people's kids. I was always doing something to try to be a family man, to try to be involved when I had the time. Right. Yeah. And so my ex I'm saying that because I needed that reflected back to me. My girlfriend was like, look, I know you did all these things. That's actually how you show up now with my family. I know you did all these things, right? Those things are valuable. You didn't have to. I mean, having her parents live with you, that alone, you didn't have to do that. These things are valuable. So you can't put a monetary value on it, but you also can't allow somebody to say that you're worth nothing.
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she followed me. I finally said, okay, I did some lightweight moves. She's like, no, you need a real lawyer. She made some calls. I mean, I talked with a lawyer. It's like, okay, I talked with a real legit lawyer, sat down. The lawyer was like, yeah, this is unfair to you. This is really unfair to you. We have a case here.
Okay. And now we're here. Are you divorced?
Yeah. So now we're legit divorced. No longer with the girlfriend. Me and the ex-wife are actually on good terms. We see each other in passing, dropping off the boys what we would like. So everything's good. And even from the legal situation, what I got from my perspective, it's good enough, but it's still a fraction, right? But all things considered, I'll take it.
Okay. Right. So now you're here. And Man, thank you for sharing that story. This is really good. I'm glad you're so transparent in what you do. But I guess you have to in order to use your method or your process. I guess so. How do we? I do have other questions. I do have questions about how the kids, but I want to get to like the solution or like how you help men in this process, whether it's divorced or whether it's breakups. Because I have guys in my brotherhood right now who are going through, their wives have left them or their wives are asking for a divorce. And a few of those, it's like, to them, it's like they didn't see it coming. Like they didn't see it coming. Now, they didn't see it coming, but I'm sure the breadcrumbs were laid all out. And that's a whole other, that's about being the husband, being right. The husband you're supposed to be. Right. But again, I'm not blaming anything. I'm just saying like that's another podcast episode. But What is your advice? How do we handle these things? What?
Okay. So great question. So my philosophy is this. Again, I mentioned in the beginning, I look at life from a very martial arts kind of standpoint, fighting in particular. Life is a fight. It's you versus you. Your lower self versus your greater self. The beast that wins is the one that you feed. That's my philosophy. Now, I say that because when you're in this situation where you've had a death of a loved one, divorce, depression, it brings you to this place where you come face to face with yourself. And in divorce in particular, what I realized is the pain of my divorce, right? Even though I was the one that asked for the divorce, I didn't want to be divorced. I wanted to be happy. I preferably happily married to a person that I loved and that loved me, right? So I didn't want to necessarily be divorced. I just knew that I was no longer the person for them, and I knew she was no longer the person for me. Right? So hopefully that makes sense. But I had this realization, like at one point, like, wait, if I get divorced, who's gonna love me? And that's the place that I think that the people you mentioned, I think that's the place that they're at. Yeah. I think men get to this place very often where we get so caught up in the nuts and bolts of how things are supposed to work, making sure the lights are turned on and the kids' soccer program is paid for, and the wife gets the new purse that she's been talking about, and the car bill is made, and the other car, the transition is paid for. We get all caught up in the nuts and bolts. And then we get, do I spend a little time with my kids? Do I spend a little time with my wife? Maybe I'll take her out on a date. Maybe I need to take her out on a date. Maybe this. But we forget about ourselves, bro. And the main thing we forget about is that we actually outsource our love to other people. So we make ourselves a complete utility in every aspect of our lives. We're just a utility. It's almost like we forget that we're a person, right? So if my wife doesn't love me, that means no one loves me because I don't love me.
100%. I love it. 100%. Oh my God, that's 100%. I've had to go down that whole rabbit hole in the past with learning that, I had to be the one who, instead of me going out and looking for love in all the wrong places, literally, I needed to sit back and go, wait a minute, let me focus on me and making me healthy so that I can start making better decisions. And so I can, for me, it was a testosterone thing, and then changing my workouts and then changing everything. And the 6 months later was a complete internal and physical transformation for me in my 40s, which led me down to, oh, wow, now I feel amazing. Now I can, now I go to Thailand for the first time. I fight the next year. Then I'm opening up, like I'm walking into my president's place and, and saying, hey, man, I got to quit my job because I want to do online, even though I was making six figures because I had to. Like, I had so much internal love for myself and trust that I could do this. Like, oh, I can do this. I can do this. Because I was feeding myself, right? Got married to Angela. Now we're now we have a family, still have the kids going here and there. So, but I only was able to do that because I filled up love for myself. But then there were times later on, like when I take so much into new ventures that are like overwhelming,
Right.
start to, just I'm just sitting here for 24 hours a day, right? As opposed, and then wondering why no one, how come I'm not happy? Why am I not happy? You see me doing things here, and everyone's doing it. And I imagine would be like, hey man, the only person who can make you happy is you. You got to make yourself happy. You got to do things that are going to make you happy, and in turn, you'll be happy. And so, those constant reminders helps me to like, oh yeah, okay. Like, it's not just like going to the gym. It's like, it's self-love and things like that as I get older and what have you. But yeah, you said it huge. Like, you got to feed the beast that you want. Yeah, you got to feed the right beast, right?
Yeah, I got to feed the right beast. Yeah, man. So here's the philosophy. Let me give you there. So when I was going through this process, again, I did all these things I'm going to mention that I teach, but I did them more or less in this order. But at the time, I was just doing stuff. Later on, I was able to look back on my notes because I do a lot of journaling. Look back on my journey, be like, oh, this and this, and put the connected dots. Anyway, so life is a fight. Fight is an acronym. The acronym is faith, inventory, growth, habits, team. Faith, inventory, growth, habits, team.
Break it down for us. Faith.
So the first thing was, and this is real talk. The first thing I remember being on the floor of a Motel 6. I remember which one, crying my face off because I come to this feeling that I'm not doing very good at life, and I've never been all that good. And maybe it would be better if I just kind of quit this game.
Totally.
Maybe it would be better if I just checked out, And so I started having these thoughts, and I started, I want to share this because I think that some people might be able to relate. I started having these, and I was still going through my days, right? Going through my days. I started my personal training business. I was training people, trying to put on a brave face, smile, pretend, give a little bit of information here and there. Because there's some stuff you just can't hide completely. So, but not too much, and try to make it seem like everything was okay. Right. But I started having this kind of recurring kind of like vision. And I started thinking like, wow, what would it be like if I just wasn't here anymore? And then I thought, wow, what would my funeral be like? And I started imagining my funeral. And this actually, I mention this because it's a very kind of twisted way, really, to relieve some of the pain, but also the responsibility of what you're going to. So I'd play this like movie, and I'd see, people that I used to call friends and family crying, and my mom, my dad crying. Oh, if only he knew. And I did kind of like this kind of weird satisfaction, Yeah. Oh, because now, like, they're hurt. Like, I'd hurt. Like, I'm not here. Now they're hurt. Now they know what it's like to be without me. Now they get what they deserve, kind of a thing. So I play it. I'd see all these faces that I feel better about myself. I started to feel kind of vindicated in its weird way. But then I get to my boys. And all I would see is just devastation and disappointment. But more than that, what I realized is that look what you did to them. Now you're asking them to go through life without you. You put them in a situation, you can't reverse it. And on top of that, now your punishment is you have to watch them from the other side of the veil try to do life without you.
Oh. Incredible.
Right?
Incredible. Yeah. Keep going. Sorry, I just, because I've gone through that.
Yeah.
I've gone through well, I mean, I'm just by myself most of the day anyway. No one's really calling me or talking to me or whatever. So yeah. And then yes, the funeral, when you just talked about the funeral, it brought me back to that's the scene you want to see. And that's exactly the picture. Oh, okay, now look at you, boy. Right. Yeah. But then I also used to play the funeral and no one showed up. I played a funeral and no one showed up.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, this is a long time ago, but I used to have both of those. The funeral where, that's a whole other thing. But anyway, go on.
No, that's awesome. And so I'm thinking myself like, wow, like, you're this big, strong man. You did, karate and MMA and fought, and you weren't man enough to do life. But then you expect them to be man enough to do life without you? Like, what kind of asshole are you? Like, who would do that to somebody? Who would do that to their own people, right? I'm not judging anybody. I'm saying these are the perfect right?
Totally.
Right? So then I said to myself, and that became what I call an anchor. I think that first step when you get to that place, is you need an anchor. You need something. It could be your kids. It could be a vision of you from the past. Maybe a younger version of you that made a promise to you. It could be maybe somebody, a grandma, a grandpa that you really looked up to, that would want to see you like overcome. There's some kind of promise to fulfill, spoken or unspoken, and that's your anchor. So when I had that, and it took me a few times. It wasn't just one time. It was like I played again. I try to find a way to justify it, but the feeling was always the same. And after going through that process in my mind, I don't know how many times, I finally said, then your only option is to not only survive, but your only option then is to be better than you've ever been before, because of this. And your boys will see this. That's the only other option you have. From having virtually no money, no resources, no friends, no family, on the floor of a Motel 6. Wow. From there, let me make this clear. From there, I'm talking to you from my own apartment, which is some people's mortgage, with my own brand new RAV 2000 RAV4 in the driveway, with our personal training business that I'm making more money than I've ever made, growing a coaching business, right? You heard of the philosophy that I'm about to share. I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying that from that moment to this moment. Right?
It's the rise of the phoenix rising from the ashes, literally.
Yeah. So my first thought was, so then I thought I need help. So I had a prayer. My prayer was, please help me. And from that moment, I felt a little relief, and I felt I felt kind of carried.
Yes, totally. Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
And I would say, man, just get out of bed. Yeah. Okay, man, just get in the car. And then whatever happens the rest of the day is whatever. And then I would say, just make it to your appointment, your first appointment. And then whatever you want to do for the rest of the day is whatever. Right. And that was enough.
Right.
To build the blocks. But then I started thinking, man, maybe there is a God. Like for real. Mm-hmm. And I started journaling. I had this concept where, what if I can talk to God? What if God was like an operator that was really busy, but I can give him a message? My idea, I call it voicemails to God, and I would journal. I'd say, hey, God, I'm going through this. I'm going through that. I'm going through this. And sometimes on the back end of just writing it made me feel better. Totally. Feeling like I had a conversation. Because what I started to think was, if I can see God, then maybe that means that he can also see me. Mm-hmm. Which means that maybe I'm not completely by myself as much as I thought.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe I got somebody looking over that's waiting to see if I can figure this out.
Totally.
So I started journaling, right? Voicemails to God. And then I had this thought like, what if what I'm going through right now, I can tell this story one day and it can help somebody else? I don't know what that would look like. I remember distinctly walking through the Motel 6, right? The little kind of bathroom, the thing, like the mirror, and then the bathroom's on the left. I remember having this idea like, maybe one day I'll tell this story to somebody and it'll help somebody in some way. Maybe that's what this whole thing is for, in some way. And of course now look at it. But the first thing was faith. So what I teach is faith can be practice exercise in most of ways, but primarily 3 different ways. Faith can be religious. I've done research that says religious people tend to live longer. They tend to survive like life-threatening diseases or situations better. They tend to have happier relationships. They tend to have happier lives, right? So there's the religion that you're actually like, we have a Christianity or Islam, but there's also there's the community of religion that's really helpful for people. You can exercise it that way. You can exercise spirituality. Your spirituality can go up, I learned. Your spirituality can be connecting to source here. Your spirituality can go down. It can be connecting to the earth, like grounding, walking barefoot, being in the sun, Either of those ways can help you feel connected, meditating, right? Spirituality can be, faith can be practical. Faith can be like, what's your self-talk look like? What do you tell yourself when you're doing well? What do you tell yourself when you didn't do so well, right? How do you reprogram yourself to be on your own team?
I love it. I love it. And I love the fact that your faith, because, when the word God comes up, for a lot of people, that just turns people off. You know what I mean? A lot of people just like, oh, this is religious. This is whatever, right? Yeah. And so I like how you said there's 3 different ways. It's not all. Maybe you'll have all 3. Maybe you'll have 2. But like, you don't have to have the religious side. The spirituality will connect you to a higher power, right? Like, or maybe it's a God that you understand, a God of your understanding. It doesn't have to be like God that I understand. Maybe you have a different God or a different higher power. But I find that when religion gets thrown in, or the word God really, people use that as a barrier. It's, well, I'm not religious, or I don't believe in God, and so they stop. But if you can, the way you've done it and the way you've set up the faith is just belief, right? You have to have belief that whatever your higher power, whatever that is, spiritually, the self-talk, right? Or your God, their prayers or meditation, right? It's something other than yourself, right? That's like, you're not going to do it. It's something other than yourself that's going to help you. That's why I like when you said get connected. It's the connection. It's the community. It's all of that stuff. And so it makes it like, hey man, it doesn't have to be God. It could just be your higher part. It's got to be somebody higher. It's got to be something that's not yourself. Could be a friend, maybe, who knows, whatever it is. But I think that, I like that you have 3 different ways, and 3 very powerful ways, right? Like journaling and self-talk. That is huge. Like, we're always talking negative about ourselves. Who talks the worst about me? Most likely will be me, right? Everyone else is saying, you're awesome. This is great. That's awesome. And I'm the one that, it's not good enough. Oh, this sucks. Oh man, that was brutal. Oh my God. And so that it was funny because the doing the workouts online, like when I started doing follow along workouts, that was a way for me to not care about what other people thought. Like, that literally was when I decided, I don't care what other people think about me. Actually, I'm just gonna. All I care about is putting a workout out there that people can just follow, and I'll coach them through it, and it's something that they can do.
Nice.
Because I'm struggling in the workouts. Basically, what I'm saying, I'm struggling. I'm farting. I'm dying. I'm like, Angela, oh guys, I'm resting. You guys keep going. Like, I'm literally showing what it is to work, as opposed to doing like demo videos of me jumping over jumping over hurdles. And this is how I train every day. Meanwhile, it's the opposite. I'm knocking down hurdles, dying, expiring. And so when I put that out there, man, it was such a relief for me, because now I don't have to worry about what other people think, because I already put it out there. You already know what you're going to get with Funkster. So only people who are going to like it. And then it also just allowed me to just be like, okay, let's stop the negative talk now, right? Like, let's start talking a little bit more. I can do this. It's like a testosterone booster. When you talk positive about yourself, and like when things happen, like, oh, okay, I got to do this project. I've never done this before. I can do this, man. No problem. I can do this. It's going to be tough. Yeah, it's going to be hard as hell, but I'm going to do this. I can do this. No problem. There's going to be a solution. When you talk like that, your cortisol levels go down, stress goes down, right? And then you feel like you and then when you add the faith part, like your F and fight, it seems like you add that that external whatever it is to help guide you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely does. Yeah, no, it absolutely does. It's a way of. So here's the thing, right? I've heard it said. I don't know if it's completely. I've heard it said that there's something like 1,000,000,001 chance that any of us are even actually here, right? Yeah. Even if that's not accurate, it's probably 1,000,000,000 at the minimum, right? That's still really low odds that any one of us are. Those are the odds, roughly, that, as to my knowledge, that any one of us actually ends up here. So what we forget is we spend life looking for the lottery ticket, not realizing we already have it. Right. And that's the blessing. That's the realization I came to. It was like, I used to think like, okay, God, I'm blessed. I'm a child of God because I'm a good person. Well, other people, because I try to be honest. Well, sometimes I'm honest, but sometimes I'm not, right? No, you're blessed because you're here. Like the blessing has been bestowed upon you. It's right here in front of you. There is no lottery ticket that you need. You are blessed because you're here. You are loved because you're here. The fact that you're here is proof that you're loved. Now, what you decide to do with that, if you decide to forget that, if you decide that it's not enough, if you decide that part is on you. But the fact that you're already here is proof that you are loved. That's the real thing, right? So then I started to think, well, okay, so if it's on me, what do I want to do with that? So then my next thing is the I's for inventory. Yes. Inventory is external, inventory is internal, and then there's something I call stolventory, right? I think you'll be able to relate to these. So internal inventory, I started thinking, if I'm going to be better than I was before I got here, I need to get out of the situation right now. What do I have? So first, external inventory. I have my car, I have books, I have clothes. Okay, yeah, what else do you have? I don't know. I have some workout equipment. Oh, I have a business. I have clients. I have paying clients. I have clients that I haven't worked in a long time that I haven't seen, but would probably pay if I reached out to them. Maybe they want to get workouts. I have clients who have friends that might want to work out. But clients have family that might want to work out. Like as I started taking inventory, it's like, then it's like, wait. I have bank account. I forgot about this bank account. I have 10 grand in this bank account. Let me see if I can use that 10 grand to pay off this stuff that I've been trying to pay off. That's been weighing me down. So, sure enough, right? So when you take inventory, a couple of things happen. You realize that you have more than you thought, and it also builds your confidence, right?
Yeah. And then, so that's external. What about internal inventory?
So internal inventory is, okay, what else? I have a college degree. I have a certificate. I have at that time I had some personal training certificates. So maybe I can work somewhere. Maybe I can get a job at Google. Maybe I can, okay. And then I said, okay, well, what else do I have? I have, let's see, what else did I have at that time? I had
skills. Like, is it like skills?
Yeah, I had skills. Yeah, I had some skills and craft. I'm a good writer. I'm a good speaker. Maybe I can. Right? I started finding small ways. It's not always about money. At that time, for me, it was. But it's not always about money. It's just about there are other opportunities out there that you are missing. But when you take a piece of paper and a pen and you start writing these things down, you'll start to connect the dots. Totally. I'm a good writer, therefore maybe I should blog. Maybe somebody be interested in me blogging. I'm a good speaker, maybe I should start a podcast. Maybe people are interested in what I have to say, right? There, you start to connect the dots to find ways. And then there's solventory. There's things that I thought I could do that I hadn't actually done yet, but I believe coaching was one of them, right? So to some extent, I was already coaching as a personal trainer, but I never did actual coaching, men's coaching at that time. Yeah. But I had this little gleam of a thought, I feel like I could do this. I have no internal proof that I could do this necessarily. I have no external proof that I could be a coach, but there's something in me that feels like I have enough that I could make that happen if I really wanted to. That's what I call solventory.
Love it. That's exactly what I did with my last certification course, training men over 40 certification course. I did certification course in the past, but I never did something live and 8 weeks. And it's like, well, I've done a cert before. I mean, I haven't done it live. But I also done this before. And so it's like, okay, I can do this. And then it's tough. It sucks. It's hard. It's not perfect, but like you said, it's the inventory that you start to take. And I like the one that's like, yeah, I was supposed to do this, or I'm going back to school, right? Like I'm in school. it was something that it's like, oh man, like I can do this. I can go back to school at 54 years old, 100%.
Right.
You're okay. Like I can do this. I can do something that I wanted to do, and the opportunity came up, and now look where I'm at.
Right.
Going to Ivy League schools. It's insane.
Right. That's amazing, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. Now, what's the G?
The G is growth. And so this is where the hard work comes in. Growth. So growth is the man that you've been, the man that you say you now want to be, as well as your purpose, right? We got to determine those two things. And then the last thing is, what's the gap in between, right? The man that you've been, the man that you say that you want to be, that's going to be in line with your new purpose. And what's the gap? The reason why the man that you've been is important is because you have to take, and again, I do a lot of journaling. I'm a very big believer. You have to take stock of what you've done that landed you here. So like, yeah, I decided to get divorced. Yeah, I felt like my ex wasn't hearing me, wasn't really doing the things I wanted. She wasn't, and we grew apart, and yet she did this and she did this and she did this. My ex-girlfriend, she did this and she did this. But what did I do? Yeah. Like, I can't be 100% innocent. Like, come on. What did I do? Well, sometimes I was selfish. I didn't spend a whole lot of time. I didn't plan any dates. I reinvested my money back into my business because I really wanted to be successful, right? There's a lot of things that I did that made me not awesome. I wasn't enough of a man, so we lost the polarity between the male and female, right? I didn't do enough of my male role, so that was part of the reason for the lack of the intimacy, right? So you have to take stock of what you did, so you can have that. So you can have it, see it in front of you, take that accountability. That's a big part of being a man, being a responsible adult, period, but particularly being a man, is taking accountability so that you don't repeat those mistakes.
100%. So during that inventory, you're doing a self inventory as well. I'm assuming like you got to write down like your assets, but you also have to write down your defects too. I'm just
right.
This is so awesome. So the growth portion now is the action. Like you go, okay, how am I going to get to where I want to get to, and all the steps that I mean, it's going to be different for everybody.
Growth. It's outlining the action. So
outline. Okay.
Right. If you will be it's taking accountability, making that visual, right? Really kind of like really bringing yourself to a place that's like, I put myself here. Yeah, there's other things that happen. People said this, people did this, but here's the part where I put myself here. Right? So that when you remind yourself that you're responsible for your own life, right? Now, here's a person I want to be, and this is my purpose. My purpose is I'm going to save men's lives. I'm going to use what I've been through to save men's lives, right? I'm going to coach still, and I'm going to still train. I'm going to still do jiu-jitsu, and I'm going to still punch bags and punch my friends in the face. But the main thing I want to do is I want to save men's lives, because the worst thing I think that's happening in our world today is there's so many good men who decide that they don't want to play this game anymore because not enough people have poured into it. You can make 40 a year. You can make 40 a year. You can make 40 a month. You can make 40 a day. All of them matter. Every one of us are needed. You are loved. You are appreciated. You are needed. You are needed right now by all of us. Right? Yeah, for example, if you didn't do the things you've done, I wouldn't have an opportunity to now speak to the audience that you have. Exactly. Right? And it doesn't mean that you're a rock star or that you wrote a book or but it's like, for example, a lot of people know who Cain Velasquez is. Very few people know who Pops is. Pops was Cain's coach for the majority of his fight career. When Cain lost the title, he went back to training with Pops, and that's how he regained the title. Yeah. Right? Yeah. People don't know who Pops is. Pops is the man behind the man. Without Pops, is there a Cain? I can't say no, but I can't say I'm sure either. I mean, that's really cheating. I don't know. Yeah. But I know I know he's important in his life. Right?
Cain Velasquez, by the way, who, for those of you, is a former UFC champion, heavyweight champion, dominant champion. At his time, he's going through his own things right now. But yeah, and the nicest guy.
Yeah, great guy. So without Pops, as an example, there's a lot of it that I'm sharing with you that I wouldn't be able to share, right? And I only did this for like 2.5 years. Like I catered them as much as I can every day, every opportunity I got. But it's only a short amount of time. But he showed me so much. Everybody that works with me, my clients, my classes, they all know who he is. That's how impactful he is. It's just one guy. But through me, he's impacted multiple people already. Totally. And now, as a result of you talking with you, there's even more.
Yes. So that's amazing.
You're loved, you're appreciated, you are very much needed. We all need you.
Okay, so next up, so now we have the growth. Now the habit. Is that the action steps now that need to be taken?
Yeah, so we got the growth, who you've been, who you want to be, purpose. So purpose is, what do you want in your life for real? What do you want to do with your life? What do you want to be known for? What's the legacy you want to leave? I don't want to skip purpose because this is a crucial part, right?
Well, it's the biggest part, I think. Purpose is huge.
So what do you want to be known for? Men have an innate, and I think actually a very positive desire to live beyond ourselves. Even if we don't actually accomplish it, our desire is to, whether it's a book or a course or a movement, right? We have an innate desire to live beyond ourselves. And this is aside from the kids that we the life that we create, right? So what is that going to be for you? And also, not only do you have to live beyond yourself, but it has to serve others, right? We have an innate desire to live beyond ourselves and serve others. So what is that going to be for you? And so that comes back to this concept where you have to take your God-given talents, your interests, your experience, maybe some of that might be monetary, and you think that's hard. It's up to you if you want to make money off it or not, right? You'll make money off it or not. And but more importantly, something that you could do for free. It's you might want to get paid for it, but you would do it anyways. The work, right? When you put those together, you create a purpose that this is your driving force. And this is the other part that's important for the men that we're talking to, because a lot of times when men don't have a purpose, they're women need to have a purpose. And my opinion is, you're willing to not be your purpose. No. Your family is a part of your purpose. Right? Your family is a part of your purpose, but your family kind of exists kind of like parallel to your purpose. Totally. It's alongside it, right? But they are not the same thing, in my opinion. They are not the same thing. Here's why. Your purpose is the only thing that can be compensated, that can't be confiscated from you. It can't be corrupted, and it can't be destroyed. You can do your purpose at Starbucks. You can do your purpose at home alone in your apartment. Basically, what I'm doing right now with you. You can do your purpose in a prison. Your purpose is the only thing that can't be corrupted and it can't be confiscated, and it's all yours.
Well, you have to have one.
But you have to have one, right?
You have to wake up every day with your purpose, and it may change. It's not going to always be the same. But men, generally speaking, men don't have a purpose. A lot of times, men who are depressed, men who are suicidal, men who are in the state where all of a sudden they get sideswiped by their wife leaving them. Right. It's a lack of purpose, because if you had purpose, I'm sure that the person you're with, unless there's something else going on, would see that purpose and understand that you're always working for that purpose. Like, wow, this guy is working for his purpose. He's healthy, focused. He's amazing. He's still a great dad. He's still a great husband, or maybe, he's an okay husband, but I can still see that purpose. Like, women want strong men. Women don't want weak men. Women don't want men who are have low self-esteem. Women don't want men who don't have confidence. Like 100%. And specifically at our age, in our 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, when like, your 50-year-old wife or 55-year-old wife, when the kids are gone and she's looking at you, and you're not you specifically, but looking at you, and you're on the couch, you come home from work, you're on the couch, she's pulling up a beer because you had a long day at work, and we're sitting there and you got a beer belly, and your wife is sitting there looking at, and your wife goes out because your wife has friends, because most women have more friends than men. So your wife goes out, they have friends, you haven't had sex with your wife because you're erectile, you just have no sex drive. Your wife is looking at you. Right. And then she's looking at the house. Right. And she realizes, well, the kids are gone. And it's just me and this guy, this fucking son. Like, is this my purpose in life? Hell fucking no. Right. And that's the sideswipe sometimes. I tell you guys, if you're listening, that's the sideswipe that happens when you're like, what the just happened? You have no purpose. You're just going to work. Right. You have no legacy that you want to leave. Your kids aren't your legacy. Your wife's not your legacy. Exactly what you said. Your legacy serves others and lives beyond you. What legacy are you going to leave when you leave this earth? You need to have a purpose that's going to drive that legacy. But I'm telling you, that's it. And then your wife's going out, and guess what's happening too when your wife's going out? I'm going on a little bit of a rant here, but other guys are telling your wife they look good. Maybe your wife still goes to work. Brenda, you look great today. Brenda, wow, you're looking good. Are you going to the gym? Yeah, I go to see Tyrone at the gym. Great. Tyrone, you're trained, your wife trained with Tyrone at the gym, who's shredded and jacked and the same age as you.
Right.
Same age as you.
Right.
Training your wife, telling her how great she is. There doesn't have to be anything intimate, but now your wife is looking at, how come Tyrone is shredded? And when I go home, this is what I come home to. There's a side swipe. Guys, you got to focus on being as healthy as you can physically, but also mentally with a purpose every single day outside of my kids, go to work. Like, that's not your purpose, man. Well, your work is just to whatever on the... Anyways, I had to go through that because when you said legacy, it's so funny because the other day I was going to shoot something about legacy for my brothers, literally. And everything you said, I was like, well, let me think about what's legacy. Well, it can't be kids, because I know guys will use that as because I know these guys. Some guys are really, really tricky. They're like, oh, well, my legacy is my kids. No, it's not your kids. It's not your wife. It's like, and then you just said it perfectly. You're serving others. Man, this is good. This is so good, man.
I'm glad you're doing it. So yeah, and one of the things my father, like I mentioned before, my father has been a big part of my journey. Kind of more, so a little bit more on the back end. And I'll tell you why I say that in a little bit. Because the last part, the team part, is the hugest part. We're going to get to that. But so the purpose is, one of the things that I found is that women are more attracted to a man that has a purpose because now she has a purpose, whether the kids are there or not. I learned that from Miles Monroe. Miles Monroe strategy that he's like, I didn't see what he was. He's passed away now, but he was like, he was almost like a pastor, like a religious thought leader, but he phrased things about the Bible in ways that made it a little less biblical and a little bit more like practical. Yeah.
Right.
Well, you're great about that. And one of the things he said, your wife is Eve came from Adam's rib. Eve was designed to help Adam. Adam had the purpose. Eve was designed to help her, right? So whether you believe in Christianity or not, I believe in that. That doesn't mean that your wife can't have her own thing. She doesn't. That's how you guys move. That's great. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, when a man has a purpose, a woman is on board. And if she's not on board with your purpose, it's probably not the right girl. You have to worry about it. But a woman will be excited about a man that has a purpose. Just like a woman is attracted to a man in uniform, police officer, military person, fire person. That's because his uniform identifies his purpose. She looks at him, I know what that guy's about. Even if you look at a fireman, you're like, he's brave, he's strong, he's hardworking, he's all these things you get in for just from a person's uniform. You don't have the uniform, okay, but you don't have the purpose. Now it's like, okay, well, what are you about? Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you about, and where are we going, and what is my role in that? That's what women ask themselves when they don't. And if it is, and like you described, if it feels like nowhere, because when they're emotional, that's not disrespectful. That's how they are. That's a good thing. They're like, they need some kind of excitement. They need things to be like, they need things to like do, be stressed about, worried about. Like, they have a lot of talents that we don't have. They need something that they can like get their hands on, micromanage, and dance around. They need some stuff. You don't have no purpose. You're not giving her anything to be. There's no reason for her to be there.
Yeah, huge. So, okay, we got a little bit of time left. What's the H?
Yeah, so the H is habits. Habits is the actions, right? Okay. So this is important because I learned, and I've been doing this for a couple of years now, like 3, maybe 4 years. You can actually track your habits. So habits are, what are the daily, weekly, monthly actions that I'm going to take that are going to allow me to get to the person that I say I don't want to be and to fulfill my purpose. Say, for example, my habits tracker, I recommend people start with tracking 7 different things on a daily basis. Track 7 things, right? Say, for example, you track like your food, your water, your sleep, right? Some basic stuff. Did you exercise? You give yourself a score. I do from 1 to 5. At the end of the day, I give an average that score. If it's a 3 or above, I did a good day from an objective standpoint. This is not subject. It's not how I feel. It's how I make my life objective, right? I give myself a score. 3 or above, I did good. 3.5, 3.3, I did really good. Below 3, I wasn't on my game, right? And I can check in with myself emotionally, and I can say that makes sense. But you have to have a way where you where you track yourself on a daily basis as to what activities you're going to do that are in alignment with the person you want to be. And these can change. I've changed mine many times. Like I've changed mine for example, it was, okay, here's something I do for my personal, here's something I do for my business. And then I make a little note for myself but then I thought that's not specific enough. For my business, do I do emails? Did I do a podcast? Did I work on my website? Did I do any reaching out? Did I do my 3 to 5 posts on my social medias? So now I have more specific parameters that when you look back and say, man, am I getting to where I want to be? Yes or no? Well, look at your calendar. My calendar's kind of empty. Look at your habits tracker.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything there? I don't have one. Or there's very little there. Okay, well, that's the problem. Right, now we know the problem. Now we know where to go. So now I'm having this conversation with you. Fine, this is a huge moment for me. Like I'm eating this up. But be able to speak with you and have an opportunity to talk to your audience. This is as a result of me tracking my activities and doing like I did certifications, I read books, podcasts, and I've been tracking it so that I know. So when this moment comes, I'm not looking at this moment like, oh wow, like, do I deserve this? I mean, there's a part of that, like this is, but I'm like, no, I do deserve this. This is the work that I've done. What's the work that I've done? You need that. This is the work that I've learned to get here. Now from here, what's the work that I actually do to get there? Right?
Love it, man. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. I used to do that as well. I used to go to 10 on my 10s. I'd go downstairs and tell Angela, yeah, I had a 9 today. I had a 7 today. I had a 5 today. I had a 10 today. I had a 10 today. How many? She would even go, how many 10s have you had in the last few days? How many not? Because 10s, again, it's just a number, right? It's just a number.
Right. Whatever works.
It's whatever works. It's just not like, well, how do you, it's just, hey, that's how I did it. I know, like, it was just man, this was a bang on day. I felt great. I got everything I wanted to get done. It was a 10, period, where, I spoke to people I need to speak to. I spoke, you know what I mean? But and there's days where there's 3s and 4s and 2s, and then you look at where you are and how did I get to here? Well, let's go back to the journal and see, 4 3s in a row. Okay, we got to step back and stop in our tracks and see, okay, we got to do we got to go back to the inventory. Right. And your eye, we got to go back to the eye and see what's going on here. The G for growth. Do we have a purpose? Like, am I just going through the motions? Because I can sometimes go through the motions too without a purpose. I have to repurpose myself. Okay, this is amazing. The T, because we only have about a few minutes left. What is the T? And then,
okay, so I'll make this quick.
It's probably the most important.
Great. So I do want to say I'm releasing a course. I'm actually coming out with it. I'm finishing it this week. So Funk 40, you guys can get 40% off the course. That outlines everything. It's called Fight Back, Turning Pain into Purpose. Everything we're talking about is going to be in this course. But team. So team is every man needs 3 to 5 men. I like 5 men that they can go to at any moment at any time. Women typically naturally have a place where they conversate. They have their own communities, hair salon, nail salon.
Sewing circle.
Yeah. Men need to do that, but they need to do it in a purposeful way. You need to curate your team. Your team needs to be people that are humble, hungry, hardworking, and honorable. Right? Humble, hardworking, hungry, and honorable people that love, and trust. Right? The 5 team members are this: ride or die, big brother, coach, mentor, father figure. And each of those men, when you have that perspective, you give yourself a 360 view of your own life in such a way where it makes it very hard for you not to be able to win. It makes it very hard for you not to be able to win. These people will tell you when you're successful. They'll tell you when you're messing up. They'll tell you when you're on your purpose. They'll tell you when you're off your purpose. And their whole primary objective is to help you remind yourself of the man you say you want to be and the purpose you say you want to fulfill. That is their primary objective. And they know this. But you have to curate this team for yourself. And you might have some people that change. Maybe if you're 25, this is easy. Maybe if you're 65, it's hard for you to have a father figure. So maybe you have 2 mentors, right? Maybe you have 2 mentors instead of right? So there's different ways you kind of can manipulate this. But real quick, your ride or die is probably your peer. That's the guy from the movie The Town, where Ben Affleck says the Jeremy Renner's character.
Oh, we almost lost you here. We can't hear you. I can't hear you. No, still can't hear it. 130. Audio. So far.
How about that?
Yeah, good. Good.
Yeah?
Yes, I can hear. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So fantastic. Okay. So my bad. So ride or die. Probably your peer is a person like from the town where Jimmy Renner's, Ben Affleck's character says to Jimmy Renner's character, I got to ask you something. We're going to go somewhere. We're going to hurt some people. I can't tell you exactly what we're going to do. We could never talk about this again. Right. Jimmy Renner's character says, whose car we're driving? That's your ride or die. Like they believe in you. They trust you. They just go with you. They just go, right? They don't let you do dumb things, but they just go. So you ride or die. Your big brother is a person that's a few years ahead of you in life. If you're married, they're married with a kid already. If you're married with a kid, they're married, they have 2 kids. They're like 3 to 5 years ahead of you in life, and they can tell you what's coming up next around the corner, right? They represent family. Your ride or die is loyalty. Your big brother represents an aspect of family for you. The coach, that's your strategist. That's your Captain America. The coach is like, they're a little bit emotionally removed from your life, which is good. So they're very objective. You did this, you did this. You did this, now you need to do this. It could be a life coach, it could be a therapist, it could be a business coach, relationship coach. Any one of those positions feels a coach. Very objective view on your life, but that's good because it allows you to make logical decisions, right? Helps you make logical decisions. The mentor is 30,000 feet up. The mentor is like, you look at them, you're like, I want to, when I'm, 65, when I'm 75, when I whatever, I want to have the kind of life you have, right? The kind of success. Doesn't have to be the same field, but you want to have the, so they'll look down at you essentially, not in a battle, but they're looking down at you like, okay, well, the next step for you is you need to do this. Right? The next step for you, if you want to get to here, you want to do this. So you do this 30,000 foot view. So you're always looking at your life, not only what's happening right now, but are these things also in alignment with the life that I want to have when I'm 65, 75, 85, whatever. Right? The father figure is a little bit of all these things and none at the same time. The father figure, like my coach Pops is my first father figure. He's the guy that really kind of started to solidify this stuff for me. The father figure, it shows you how to show up as a man. Pops was consistent. He had a methodology. He had a purpose. He was on time. He was disciplined. He was vocal. He was I don't want to say mean, but he was kind of like rough around the edges, but in a loving way. He understood how to push people. He understood how to get people over their own hump, over their own nonsense. He just he knew what to say, right? But the way he showed up, it was like, that's the kind of man I want to be. So your father figure represents the man the kind of man that you want to be in life as a whole, right? With the kids, I went to Pops' his wake. I went to his funeral. I was watching grown men cry their faces off just because they weren't hearing. People that hadn't seen him in years cry their faces off because he wasn't hearing anymore. Right? Your father figure represents for you, personifies for you the man that you want to be in your life as a whole, as a father, as a husband, as maybe even as a son, and whatever career path that you're on. They represent that in such a way that's like they don't have to say very much of anything. You just see it. They just walk that path and you just follow.
Incredible. Man, this is so powerful. Guys, if you're listening right now and you're like, oh, I need Jeremy as a coach. Like I need him to be the seat, the coach, the person who's going to coach me or maybe even mentor or maybe get me through my own crap. Like sometimes you can't see the leaves from the tree, the forest from the tree. I don't know what that is. Yeah. You can't see through the forest from whatever it is, but sometimes you do need that external help. We all need coaches. We all need these 5 things. And so for those of you who are looking for help, for guidance, for an opportunity to learn how to fight back into your life, I'm going to take this course because there's, I'm not going through a divorce, but I see things here that I lack that I could be like, oh man, I like that. I like the team portion of it. That's amazing. Like that team, I got to build my team. I got to build my team. I may have some of them already there that I didn't even realize, but I got to build that team because if I want to continue through this life to be a successful husband, father, business person, friend, leader in the community, leader in the industry, I need that team. So once again, where are they going to find you?
Right.
Where are they going to find you?
Well, you can find me
later. So
yes, you can find me at jeremydmurphy.com. It's my website. I'm mostly on Facebook, also at Jeremy D. Murphy on Facebook and LinkedIn. LinkedIn. Jeremy D. Murphy as well. So those are the main places that I hang out. I don't have an Instagram. I know it's popular, but I was putting a lot of my content before on Instagram, and they took a lot of it off just without warning, and I didn't like that. So I'm not really messing with Instagram these days. So those are the three main places. Yeah.
And the course is called Fight Back. It's a course you're just finishing up right now. It'll be done, and probably by the time this is done, it'll be ready for action. So just go to jeremydmurphy.com. You'll probably see Fight Back right there and get on that course. Thank you so much, my brother, for being on here. This was a great one. This was a long podcast episode, 1 hour and 35 minutes, which is longer than general. But this was worth it, 100%. I appreciate you. You're doing great things, and you are gonna change so many lives. You're gonna change this world. Your purpose is very clear. I can see it, and I'm proud of you too, because I remember where you were and the work that you've done to get to where you are right now, man. So thank you so much for being on this podcast. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Fawn. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for allowing me to speak with your audience and remembering me. And you're one of those guys. We talk sometimes, but we had that one talk, and you didn't have to give me any time, right? We had one talk like 2 years ago almost. You didn't have to, but you hopped on the phone with me, and I was telling you all the stuff I'm working on, going through. You didn't have to take that call, but you did. I appreciate you for it.
No problem, man. Anytime, my brother. Anytime. Thank you. Thank you. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you soon.
See you soon, guys. Thanks, Fawn.